everybody, Dacob here. Welcome back to the Fashion Bunker. I will be reviewing today Dior Homme, the new rendition of Dior Homme. I got a bunch of samples. Dior gave me the sticker sheet as well. It's all very dark, isn't it? They're pushing it. They're trying to sell it. Let's see what it means. First, let's see what they print in the batch code. It's really hard to see. 9L02. That's the batch code, 9L02. So first and foremost, thank you to my patrons for helping the channel. On Patreon, this video will be ad-free. On YouTube, ads will be running through the video. So if you wish to join Patreon, become a patron, I'm Super Dacob on Patreon, all spelled together. Thank you so much for my patrons. Now let's get straight to Dior Homme, the Eau de Toilette, the new release. I'm going to spray it here. And by the way, they're like little samples of 1 milliliter that you literally sprayed once and it's all gone. And because you can see the sprayer just leaks all over the place. Not really the best for testing out a perfume, these little sprayer nozzles, because it literally dumped on me everything that the bottle had inside. Okay, so it's 4 times the same bottle. They wanted to give me 4 milliliter just to test it out because they thought I was going to need that much. I mean, I might not. Okay, so it's first kind of impact of this perfume is that smells like a generic peppery scent. There is elemi in the top notes. Well, elemi, pink pepper, and bergamot. Now, elemi is a very fundamental and important ingredient in this perfume here, Sauvage, the Parfum. You could check out the review of this one. Link is in the description box underneath this video, but also in the card section up there. So I have reviewed the pure perfume of Sauvage. I've also reviewed the Eau de Parfum and also the Eau de Toilette. You can check those out. So there's elemi in both of them. Now, mind you, I know my Dior Homme. I have the first version of Dior Homme in Eau de Toilette form. Then when the Intense came out, purchased that one also. This is the first version of that one. And then as the pure perfume hit the market, got that one as well. This is a 2015 bottle, by the way. So I've went through my Diors, you know. I've never been a fan of the Dior Homme Eau de Toilette after the reformulations. But you could check out my reviews of, in particular, of Dior Homme Parfum on my channel when I first purchased this one. I still have quite a bit of it left. I know there's been a lot of speculation and word about, you know, the 75 ml being discontinued and hence the 100 ml that's being brought onto the market now being reformulated or not. I haven't tested it yet. I will actually in a day or two. I'm planning on going on a trip to try out in different perfumeries whatever's left over, whatever stock is left over, to see if indeed, and I'm going to take mine with me because this is the first formulation of it, and just compare them side by side. So let's see what sort of fruits that sort of comparison and hunt brings. But let's put this to the side for now. Let's put Sauvage to the side as well. Intense. And Dior Homme, the first, the holy grail. This is the best. So we got our, I'm smelling it now, elemi, pink pepper, bergamot. Then we got mid notes, cashmere wood, atlas cedar, patchouli. Base notes, iso e super, Haitian vetiver, and white musk. So testing this one out in the past days as well, the dry down very much so resembles Tiffany's for Men fragrance. Just compare them. They have a very similar structure. And that said, it's an okay perfume. It's not really offensive in any way. It does clean in a good way. You know, it knows how to do its clean. And I guess it's so funny. I guess in a way, this one is going back in time for me, at least. It smells quite 80s. Um, like a toned down version of an 80s perfume. So it's kind of something that could have been a powerhouse, but then had this one been a powerhouse, it would have been obnoxious because it smells very artificial, very synthetic, and not necessarily in a good way. Because if you overdo it with the peppers, and the cedars and I mean, ISO E Super is also, you know, I don't know. I have the feeling a bad stain is kind of like of a bad reputation follows it wherever it goes. So this is kind of trying maybe too hard to be something, but at the same time, it's trying too hard to not be something. And what do I mean by this? By this, I mean it wants to stand out from the crowd, but it doesn't dare enough, so it doesn't stand out from the crowd. What it does do okay-ish, and it kind of is a doppelganger, like a fake wannabe of the original Dior Homme. Now, they have nothing in common, really. The two are as different as it gets, and I do believe that Dior should have just named this fragrance something else, not Dior Homme, because it's I mean, for a younger generation that's just now discovering, you know, perfumes, you know, they're growing up, they're like, you know, when, I don't know, teenagers are figuring out for the first time whether they like perfumes or whatever, if you're, or not even teenager, maybe in your early 20s. I don't know when a person starts wearing perfume. I mean, I loved fragrances from when I was a kid. You know, I would wear, uh, like, my parents would get me soaps on a cord that you kind of hang in the bathroom, but I would wear them as necklaces, and I would love to smell the soaps since I was literally, I don't know, kid, 4 or 5 years old. So I've always been into perfume, and but anyway, some people never really like perfumes their whole life, and some people discover them later in the game, some people early, whatever. But when I say new generation, for a person that for the first time kind of hits the world of perfumes and Dior and figures out what the brand stands for, and then they start experimenting with their perfumes, they might see this or smell this fragrance for the first time and think that it is an interesting perfume. But if you already have been in the perfume game for many years or decades even, you're going to realize that this one doesn't have the zhuzh. It doesn't deliver something new. It has kind of echoes of a lot of things done in the past, and in particular 80s. It's a bit plasticky as well, maybe late 80s, early 90s even. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting here. But it definitely diminishes the diversity of what Dior Homme used to be when it was released, you know, in this version. Now, why is Dior doing this? Now, all speculation on side in terms of, you know, there's a lot of people, I've been reading reviews online. I'm curious to see how the general consensus is on this fragrance, on this entire range. It's usually guys reviewing it, and it's kind of very bizarre to see the difference between, you know, men who consider themselves to be straight or men who consider themselves to be, you know, gay or bi, whatever have you. It's just a kind of, a lot of guys say that this was too irisy for them and too feminine. I don't believe that a fragrance can have a gender, so just put that aside, because why who decided that a smell of a flower can only be attributed to Only a woman can wear smell of flower, not a man. Why are flowers off limits for men? Because they're considered fragile? I would beg to differ. There are so many flowers out there that are literally impossible to kill. You can't get rid of them. Not just flowers connected to certain weeds, but also beautiful flowers for that matter. So, whatever. It's all just a social political crappy connotation given to certain things. And it's also marketing strategies. If you're fool enough to fall for them, I'm sorry for you. But if you have a bit of brains, you understand that there's a whole marketing ploy behind it. Anyway, yada yada. At the end of the day, what is important to state here, my personal observation is, why the change? Well, I have seen what Demachy has been doing, the head perfumer of Dior, in the past years. I've seen how he has had his successes and also his flops, and certain fragrances definitely have become extremely successful, as is Sauvage. That is his creation. But he has fought quite strongly against all of those perfumes that were produced, that were created before his time, or that were in some way, well, also popular before his time. Now, things from the 80s, he kind of left, you know, Dune, that's a 90s fragrance, Dune for Men, but he kind of left that one as is because it's not that popular and Dior's still keeping it there as it is. But Fahrenheit, he added the pure perfume. He had to add some certain cologne concentrations. He had to put his name on Fahrenheit. And what is in particular, and, you know, the first three Privé range, which were back then in cologne concentrations of Eau Noire, Cologne Blanche, and Bois d'Argent. I have all three in the Cologne concentration, by the way. He had to discontinue Cologne Blanche because he inserted his own Cologne Royale. He had to change as much as he could Eau Noire to be able to put his name on it as well. And the same thing he did to Bois d'Argent. Three perfumes he never created to begin with. But this one in particular, the first formulation, I bet it really annoyed the hell out of him. Why? Well, do you know who composed Dior Homme, the first iteration of it? None other than the now head perfumer of Chanel fragrances, Olivier Polge, the son of Jacques Polge, who used to be head perfumer of Chanel. So for François Demachy to have within the Dior family such a famous, popular perfume as is Dior Homme, created by the enemy, Olivier Polge, who's working for Chanel, it just can't be. You see, it just cannot be. It had to be deleted as much as possible. So what he did first was reformulated this into the Dior Homme that we know now. And now it's been further changed into Dior Homme Original, or Dior Homme the original, which you can still purchase, but it's already a reformulation of a reformulation of a reformulation of this. And Olivier Polge is out of the picture. All we have left is a pure production made by François Demachy. It doesn't matter if this one is better or worse than what the original used to be. It doesn't matter. The ego is what matters. We have to eliminate all the traces of whatever another perfumer did for the House of Dior in order to, you know, we're talking about hyper masculinity and alpha males, because that's what a lot of you always talk about when you review perfumes, and I read these terrible alpha type of comments and perfume forums and blogs. And okay, well then let's put it in the language that a lot of people that are into male fragrances speak in. And this language would say, just imagine a perfumer lifting his leg to pee, you know, and mark his territory on a house. Now, I'm not saying that Demachy doesn't do a good job. He did an incredible job. You could check out the review of Sauvage, the pure perfume. I have a very strong opinion on this one, as well as on the Eau de Toilette when it first came out. I had made a big review on that one, and I have my opinions on it, but they can be positive or negative. There are a couple of Demachy Maison Dior perfumes that I really like, but this in particular is important because it's a mass release. It is their kind of flagship. It's the fragrance that defines what Dior represents on the market. You know, put aside their Maison Dior, which they themselves consider niche, and all of these famous luxury brands that also do their in-house perfumes and use in-house perfumers. You know, their niche is their niche. It's kind of a prestige thing. They all fight against each other to have the biggest amount of their own exclusives fragrances. That's why all of these houses bring out 2, 3, or 4 perfumes a year out in their niche category, where they spend almost 0 pennies in promoting it. But here, these are for their mass releases. We're talking multi-million dollar or euro or pound sterling campaigns. So Dior needs a huge blockbuster. Although I don't understand why now with this one. I mean, they already had it with Sauvage, and Sauvage, this one was just released a couple of months ago, practically, and now we're back here again. But also because Demachy needs to, and with this was his final move. We have now Demachy basically sitting on the throne of the Dior Homme legacy. And he has completely eliminated the Olivier Polge legacy because Olivier started it. Now, Olivier has done several mistakes within the Chanel house. Not all of Olivier Polge's perfumes for Chanel are de facto memorable, and are not probably going to end up in, you know, in Chanel's history or legacy of the best Chanel perfumes ever made. But I mean, there's several reasons for that. You know, I think Olivier is still young within the house of Chanel and is still learning how Chanel's DNA works. But Olivier really had a vision here. And this perfume doesn't smell anything like any Chanel fragrance, but he was free to do what Olivier Polge does. You know, at Chanel, he has to do Chanel, so it's kind of restrictive and restricting to him. But here he delivered. And I mean, this is arguably one of the best fragrances he has done on a mass release scale, not talking niche here. So Demachy needs to now officially take over the full control. And the last step was to reclaim the name of Dior Homme for himself. Now, I think that's a major factor that played role in this selection of this particular fragrance. But how does this one perform? Let's get to it. So smelling on my, this whole liquid thing that's on my fist here, it's, believe it or not, there is some sort of weird hintertone of onion. Not cooked onion, like a raw onion. Actually, not even the onion. It's the shell of an onion. This sounds bizarre, but it's a vegetable. You could even maybe say it's like a red beet or a celery tone, like a hue to it, that almost is borderline plasticky, like a toy that's taken out of a box for the first time. Not rubbery. It's not a soft plastic. It's like a hard plastic. Like you could say like a toy truck, for example. And it's not as metallic. You know, Sauvage Eau de Toilette has a very particular metallic opening. This one doesn't have it. It's a bit lighter, but it sustains itself in a way that it kind of doesn't really dare. It wishes it were something that it's not. And for the love of me, I don't know why Demachy would go in that direction. I mean, especially after, you know, creating the 3 Sauvage concentrations, the major 3 Sauvage concentrations, and how massively popular they were and still are. Why go in this direction now? I don't get it. Now, some people have described this as the mature, kind of the grown-up, like Sauvage is worn by teenagers and then Dior Homme is worn by grown-up men. It's, I don't see that, you know. I mean, I see this, you know, the pure perfume, the parfum of Dior Homme being this kind of more mature approach to you know, to this fragrance. But this new iteration, doesn't smell very mature to me. It smells like a little bit of a mistake. And it softens on the skin relatively soon. It doesn't stay omnipresent on the skin, and none of the ingredients as it dries down particularly shine through. It kind of mashes itself up, like squishes everything together, and it's like mashed potatoes with a bit of spices and oil in there, and it stays mushy. Not warm, not cold. You know, it doesn't smell comforting. You know, this one is extremely warm, right? But this one is not warm. It's not cold. It's lukewarm water. If you were to compare it to, I don't know, a day on the beach, you know, the waves wouldn't be high. You couldn't go surfing that day because the waves aren't high enough. You know, the water is relatively still and quiet. The air is maybe a bit too cold, so the surface of the water is kind of warm enough, but inside the water it might be too cold because the weather outside is there's just not enough sun to warm the depth of the water. So you got to stay in shallow waters if you want to keep the temperature right for the body. So you can't really go too deep into the water, so you stay in the shallow water. There are no real waves, but it's not really hot, it's not really cold. So you're kind of in that meh area, you know, in that kind of gray zone. Interesting that they're using all these gray hues to portray this perfume. It ain't 50 shades of gray. It's just one flat gray tone. That's what it is. It's one gray tone. And the perfume is okay, you know, for the blandness that it has. It does a good job because of the hundreds of thousands of bland perfumes out there. This one does have a sophistication to its blandness, a sophisticated blandness, if you may. So it's gonna find, you know, its consumers. It's gonna find definitely the people that are gonna wear it and that are gonna appreciate it for what it is. Heck, I even believe that, as I said, the younger generations that just discover perfumes for the first time, they might even consider this to be an innovation. But they will consider this an innovation just because they'll never have the opportunity to smell the original because it's gone. You know, what are you going to do? I mean, you can hunt it down on eBay, but it costs a lot more than the new one. So, you know, we're losing touch to a lot of the artistry that we had with perfume making when we do stuff like this, when we blandify things. I would have been honest. I would have given this a new name. I would have released it as a new product. And I would have kept Dior Homme the way it was. So what if Olivier Polge created the original formulation of Dior Homme? I mean, unless, of course, I have no clue. I mean, we're just speculating here. Unless, of course, Olivier Polge had a contract with Dior, and maybe Dior is not allowed to use Olivier Polge's formulation anymore after a certain amount of years. Because, what have you, reasons. Either because he's now part of Chanel or because just that's the contract they had. I don't know what sort of exclusivity Dior was given once the original Dior Homme was formulated. I mean, nothing would surprise me in this money-driven world. So, you know. But let's see how Dior tries to kind of win us over with these, you know, with their marketing. So their sticker sheets say, I'm your man. If you want a boxer, I will step into the ring for you. I'm your man. Here I stand. I'm your man. I'm your man. I'm just reading each and every one of them. I'm your man. I'm your man. It's I'm your man. If you want a partner, take my hand. Leonard Cohen. If you want a lover, I'll do anything you ask me to. Again, Leonard Cohen. The moon's too bright. The chain's too tight. The beast won't go to sleep, I guess, tonight. Leonard Cohen. Okay, so they're quoting Leonard Cohen. And Pattinson is the face of Dior Homme. Is anything in the back? No. And smelling it again. And I can't envision this as being the definition of a guy telling his girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever have you, I'm your man. I mean, you could even say I'm your man without wearing any perfume, you know. But this to be the epitome of the fragrance with which to declare your masculinity, it's a bit of a joke. But hey, I mean, to each his or her own. Now, to conclude, the longevity on this one, it has a kind of a resinousy feel to it. So by this I mean it, you know, because it's the first release, I'm sure Dior does this a lot. Because it's the first release of this one, I think they've made an extra effort to enrich it with the ingredients, you know. As we know from Dior, the more time passes after the release and the more batches are produced after the release, they sometimes, most of the times, but anyway, tend to become blander and a little bit more, you know, watered down. So I'm sure that you will see a difference, you know. I mean, I film with these really intense lights, so I see really how the perfume still, after so much time has passed and I've been blabbering on about it, it's still glistening on my skin, quite oily. And this is a brand new fragrance, just been released. Now, if I were to purchase this one in, let's say, 3 years' time, it wouldn't glisten like this anymore. It wouldn't be this oily. It would be more liquidy. It would have more alcohol, more water, and less essential oils. And that's, you know, that's just the name of the game. So if you are a collector of these fragrances, you know, buy it now when it's new, before they start reformulating it, and you're going to have the most intense experience of the Dior Homme Eau de Toilette. Whether or not that's going to be the case in a couple of years, we don't know. But as of now, with this newly released formulation, with the first batches made, I can tell you that longevity is around 4 hours on my skin, and projection is, because of the pepper in particular, and this you know, the ISO E Super, and the white musk, and the patchouli, because of that, it does project. But it's spicy, it kind of bites. Now, this is bizarre. So the further away you are from it, so if I'm wearing it and then you're standing like a meter away, it's going to be more bitey than when you come closer to me. That's a little bit of a bizarre thing. So when you're really close and smelling it, like if I'm like really putting my nose on my arm and smelling it, it smells much softer and delicate than it does from a distance. So that's projection-wise. So it does project, and it does smell more pleasant the closer you get to the skin. So in that regard, you could sing your partner the song, "Oh, I'm your man, come close to me," and then like kind of it becomes more sensual. Fine, granted, given. But it ain't a projection beast, you know, like Sauvage is. It's not even close to the projection intensity of Sauvage. And yeah, longevity up to 8 hours. 4. I have to be honest here, like skin, 4. If I put it on the clothes, cotton or wool in particular absorb it more because of the oily aspect of the fragrance. It will last up to 8 hours, but that's all I get out of it. So to conclude, Dior Homme has also released the Intense version, the new Intense version, which I still have to really test out. I do love my first rendition of Intense. This is the first formulation of it. I still have a couple of drops left. It's amazing. It's so beautiful. Let's see how the new Intense is going to be. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, please do thumb it up. Let me know what you think about Dior Homme, the new Dior Homme Eau de Toilette, in the comment section down below. If you haven't already but wish to, please consider subscribing to my channel here on YouTube. I'm also on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, Super Dacob all spelled together, and also on Patreon, Super Dacob also all spelled together. Thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, never forget to never give up on love. Bye.